So welcome to everyone to another SALT Talks. This is our kickoff session for 2024 to 2025. This marks our 10-year as doing SALT in the Montgomery, Greene, and Warren counties. So it's a 10-year anniversary for us here. Um, we've had many families go through the SALT program over the years as their child progressed from that high school to that adult age. So I want to welcome you tonight. So my name is Patty Schramm. I'm the Parent Resource Trainer Coordinator for the SALT Talks. I too was a parent with a transitional child from the high school to the young adult, and it is such a challenging time. So when we start our season for SALT, I try to start with the very beginning, where this transition begins, because there's a lot of concerns and challenges that you're going to face as a parent or grandparent or caregiver. Um, there's just so many things for eligibility purposes to look at, and just different organizations that you're going to meet as you go through this transition. So hoping that SALT Talks will help get you through that stage just maybe a little easier. I'm not going to say it's going to be a perfectly smooth ride, but maybe we can make it a little easier for you. So tonight we have a group from the Warren County Board of DD, which is DD. When you hear DD, it stands for Developmental Disabilities. They're going to be presenting tonight, but if you're not from Warren County, that's okay. You take what you learn in the SALT Talks, and if you're with a county board, you can take it back to your transition coordinator or your SSA, or we can help you get in contact with them or with a county board in your area. So if this is all new to you, that's fine. We'll help you along the way. I do request that anybody that's on here from a county board, if you can put your contact. I have the Warren County information in there, but maybe just Brittany, if you put your contact information. But if there's someone on here from like Montgomery County, Greene, Butler, or another surrounding county, you can put who the transition coordinator would be so parents know who to reach out to if they have any questions following this meeting. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Brittany Connor. She is the transition coordinator there with Warren County Board of Developmental Disabilities, and she will be, I guess you call it an MC, helping to. We have a variety of speakers tonight in all areas of the county board services, so you'll get a great overview of what's going on with the county boards, especially in Southwest Ohio. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Brittany.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Patty. So I think we have a great lineup for everyone tonight. I'm really excited, not just to hear the presentations, but to let you all experience them as well. So before we get started, Michelle sent out a flyer and there were a couple questions listed on it. So I want to make sure that we're able to touch base on those questions this evening. The first one being, what is transition services? So for the purpose of this presentation, we're going to define transition services as a team process that includes a variety of disciplines. So that includes the students, the parents, school staff, and a variety of disciplines. I think I said that twice. I apologize. But regardless of who comprises your students' team, the goal is typically to help them transition from school-age services to adult services, which is going to look differently based on each person's goals. So with that being said, we are going to jump right into the presentations. I do want to ask if you all have any questions that you want answered, like a burning question, feel free to put them in the chat. Patty's going to monitor the chat for us, and then we will make sure we get those questions answered, whether it's during the presentation or afterwards. So we are going to kick off with Jessica Haddix, who is the Warren County Board of DD Intake Specialist, and she will describe the process of getting connected with your Board of DD. That's who you need on your team.
Thank you, Brittany. Like she said, my name is Jessica Haddix, and I'm with Warren County Board, and I have been here about 13 years, been working in intake for 6, and I'm excited to share this information with you today. Like she said, go ahead and share your questions, and if Patty, if you could like stop me in the middle because I won't be able to see it because my screen will be on the presentation. So I'll go ahead and get started here, and we're going to be talking about eligibility for individuals that are 6 years and older. So this does not, will not go into what eligibility looks like for kiddos that are younger than 6 years old. So forgive me, I'm slow with technology here. Can you see my screen? Excellent. Okay, so let me get started. I don't know how to make it go forward. Here we go. Okay, so we'll go ahead and look down at the ages 6 to 15 there, and that does require a qualifying diagnosis, which we will dive deeper into in just a moment, and 3 SFLs, which is substantial functional limitation when we complete the eligibility redetermination assessment, which is known as the COEDI, which stands for the Children's Ohio Eligibility Determination Instrument. And once a child turns 16 years old, we still have to have that proof of qualifying diagnosis, still need 3 areas of functional limitation. However, it's a different assessment. We remove the child portion and it becomes just the Ohio Eligibility Determination Instrument, which is done for all individuals ages 16 years and older. So the very beginning requirements for ages 6 and above are going to be the child must reside in Warren County. So the family would need to reside in Warren County. There is a little bit of stipulation if a child is in foster care. So if a child is in foster care in Warren County, but the custody of the child is in, say, Hamilton, Butler, just another county within Ohio, that county that holds custody of the child would be the county that completes the eligibility assessment. And that's where services would be received, even if the child is living in Warren County in the foster care system. Now, once the child's custody has been put into the foster family, or they adopt the child, then we can transfer services to Warren County, but it doesn't settle in until the custody is actually within Warren County. The individual must have a qualifying developmental diagnosis, and it must be documented by a qualified medical professional. This gets a little sticky. A lot of times the school will try to use IEPs and ETRs to send us as a developmental diagnosis. However, we do not have any schools within Warren County right now that have a qualified medical professional on staff to make a developmental disability diagnosis. So even school psychologists, while they are able to complete the assessment and get numbers to determine a diagnosis, they can not actually make the diagnosis. So they have to send the findings of their assessment on to a medical professional that can make the diagnosis from the assessment that was completed. And lastly, the disability must have manifested prior to the age of 22 years old. This doesn't mean you have to come in to services before 22 years old. We just have to have proof of disability prior to the age of 22. We just talked a little bit about the diagnosis information. Must be from a qualified professional, must be signed by a qualified professional before the age of 22, cannot be a sole diagnosis of mental health, such as a mood disorder, anxiety. Those would not be accepted, like oppositional defiant disorder, depression, anxiety. Those would not be qualifying diagnoses for developmental disabilities. And the disability must be likely to continue indefinitely. This is a very few diagnoses listed here. You can see which ones we would accept Just because you have the diagnosis does not automatically mean that you qualify for services. The diagnosis is the first step of the process. So once you have the diagnosis, now we are able to schedule the assessment to be completed. So you can see here that some of these that would not be accepted, anything that lists a delay. We cannot use anything that says delay, as a delay is likely to change or could change. Mild hearing loss, anything that says borderline, we cannot use borderline, and we also cannot use rule out or history of. So those automatically would disqualify that diagnosis. As mentioned before, the COEDI, and I explained what those are. So we've got the SFL, substantial functional limitation. So there are 6 areas that we look at when completing the COEDI. So this is anyone between the ages of 6 and 16 seeking service. 6 and 15, excuse me, seeking services. We would look at these 6 areas, and there would need to be a limitation found in 3 of those areas in order for the individual to qualify for services. So we look at mobility. Are they able to, at a certain age, cross the street by themselves? Can they use the stairs independently? Then learning section is going to be, they're going to read a document depending on the age of the individual, try to count money, tell time, explain to me what their favorite television show is and maybe the content of the show. Communication is a very basic look at communication. Does the individual understand the questions that are being asked? Can I understand the individual's answers, and are they answering relevantly? So those are the 3 questions that go into the communication piece. Self-direction, we have this like a self-direction is the most the section that most people have the negative, the limitation in. This is the ability to make the appropriate decision. So also understanding cause and effect, and understanding if I miss the bus, I have to find another ride, and if I don't make it to school, I'm going to be in trouble. There could be truancy issues. That's where self-direction is going to come into play. Capacity for independent living, ability to do the typical independent living tasks. So if we're looking at a younger individual, we're looking, do they understand taking their dishes to the sink and why we take our dishes to the sink, things like that. But as we get older, can we do laundry on our own? Can we use the vacuum? Things like that. Self-care, this is going to be toileting, bathing, dressing, eating, and as well, once we get, let's see, not medication for the COEDI, but once we move into the OEDI, we add medication into that self-care piece. So we have the same 6 areas, but we add a 7th area once we go to the adult assessment, which takes place at 16 years old. And that is the economic self-sufficiency area. And this is the ability to earn money, understand what it means to have a job and to do the job effectively, and understanding scheduling. So can you schedule your job on your own and understand, I need to make sure I have a ride to get there. Feast. These, as we ask each question, we have to look at feast, the frequency of the functional limitation. Is this something that happens on a daily basis, or is it just every once in a while? Yes, Jimmy can use the stairs, but if he's done a lot of stuff that day, he's going to be a little tired. He might want some help. Well, okay, if it's just every once in a while, then there's not a limitation there. Effort needed to complete the task. The adequacy that the task is completed. So a lot of times, like with brushing our teeth, yes, Jimmy can brush his teeth, but not well. He doesn't brush all the way to the back, or he only brushes the front. Safety in completing the task. Crossing the street. Are we paying attention? Are we looking both ways? And then the time needed to complete the task. So if, yes, we can count money, but if we were at the grocery store and we were in line to pay, would it take an extended amount of time to count out the change, that people would start to get irritated with us because we're not getting the money counted in a timely fashion? So those are we're looking at all of those areas for each question that is asked. Then this one gets some people. The skill area is measured by the ability to complete the task. It does not measure willingness to complete the task. So if your child is a 16-year-old boy and he's not wanting to shower, all of our 16-year-old boys aren't really interested in getting in the shower. So is he capable? Do you have to get in the shower with him? Do you have to wash him? So we're looking at each piece. If he's capable, but he doesn't want to do it, that is not a limitation. That is a self-direction issue where he's just not wanting to do the task. And we have to determine whether or not he understands the consequences of not completing the task. So that was a really quick overview of the assessment. Are there any questions about the assessment?
Nothing came up in chat yet.
Okay. So making a referral, any person can make a referral. We do have to speak with the legal guardian or the parent if the child is a minor. If they are over 18 and they are their own guardian, then we have to speak with the individual directly in order to complete the assessment. So this is the information for Warren County Board of DD Intake Specialist, and the ages. So Amy Spencer is any individual that is over 6 years old. That is who you would reach out to if it's a new individual. I will make mention that every individual is redetermined at age 16. So if your child is currently eligible for services in another county or Warren County, the county board will be reaching out right around your child's birthday at 16 to complete the redetermination assessment, which is the OOD that happens for every individual when they are 16 years old. And then this is just a list of the services that are available once determined eligible, which I believe we will be talking about that throughout the rest of the evening.
Thank you, Jess.
You're welcome.
So as Jessica, I'm sorry, spoke, I get a little informal because I work with her. But as Jessica mentioned, there is a process to go through intake and eligibility. And if you're connected with your local board of DD, if it's not Warren County, that's great. If you're not, we encourage you to get connected. But there are other resources if you're not eligible for DD services. So we want to make sure that we touch base on those. So next, I will ask Erin Crawford. I see her now, who is with OOD, and she's a Vocational Rehabilitation Coordinator, and she is going to speak with us about OOD services and how to get connected with them.
Hi, thanks, Brittany. I don't have any presentation, so you're just going to have to look at me for a little bit, but we are all about employment. And so, like Brittany was saying, our eligibility determination process is a little bit different. Sometimes it surprises people because I work for the state of Ohio. Our agency is a state agency, Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities. Our eligibility process is a little bit different and sometimes can be easier to get eligible for our services because our requirements are a little bit different. Our services are more short-term than Warren County Board of DD, just because DD services will typically follow you for life. Our services are focused on employment, finding an employment outcome, and then closing the case successfully. So in order to be eligible, some documentation that we can use is everything Jessica was just talking about, or DD's determination of eligibility. We can also use an IEP, an ETR, a 504. That's something that's newer for us in an attempt to make it easier to have individuals get through our eligibility process. Records from a doctor, anything like that that would show a disability. And for our purposes, a disability can be anything from everything that DD would offer, as well as mental health, depression, anxiety, ADHD, all of those things qualify as a disability with our services. Any kind of records from a therapist that show a documentation of any of those things are also eligible for our eligibility determination. Our goal is, again, to help find employment. So what we'll do once we get that intake meeting scheduled and we have that eligibility determination is to start working on a plan for employment. Our goal is always to start with a job goal and kind of plan backwards from what you need. A lot of the time as well, when we're working with high school students, we might be looking at an entry-level job when the individual is exiting high school. And you can always come back and work with us again in the future. So it's, I think sometimes you worry that if you don't get it now, then you're not going to get it. And it's not that way with OOD. You can always come back and reapply for our services in the future. You don't have to be in high school to be eligible for our services. And you can have as many cases with us as you like over the course of your life. So sometimes individuals will work with us fresh out of high school to get an entry-level job, maybe come back in a year or so and want to get a different job or obtain a credential of some kind, a short-term credential like an HVAC certification, college, 2-year, 4-year. We can help with all of those things as well. We also can help you to determine what it is that you'd like to do in the future. So some of our more exploratory services, we can help you with a work assessment in the community to help you determine if a particular job goal is of interest to you or a good fit. Assess what kind of supports might be needed in a job in the future. We can also assist with a vocational evaluation to see what kind of things might be a good fit based on your interests, your needs, your aptitudes. So we can, again, help you to kind of make those plans for the future. And my big takeaway, again, you don't have to have it all figured out right now. You can always come back and work with us in the future. You do not have to be in high school to work with us. So again, don't feel like if you miss it right now, then you'll never get OOD. You can have OOD as many times as you like. Our website is the easiest place to get involved. You can go to oodworks.com and it'll take you to our website where you can apply for services online. One more thing I forgot. We can assist you with job coaches. So again, if we do close a case successfully and say an individual gets more job tasks added, or there's a change in supervisor, and that supervisor isn't quite sure how to work with your individual, then we can always come back in and reopen a case to provide some additional job coaching as well. I feel like I talked way too fast. Does anyone have any questions?
Erin, I just wanted to put out there, because I've worked with OOD several times in the course of our son's life, in the course of, going to and from jobs. But one thing and you may have said it, but I wanted to clarify, when they close a case and if you have to reopen it, do they have to go through the eligibility process, or is there a time frame that keeps them eligible, whether it's closed and then for reopening?
You do have to reapply and be found eligible again, but as long as your records are in our system, which they would have to be with your original case, we do have access to all of the previous information from previous cases. So it generally goes a lot quicker if you do want to come back another time around. And closing a case, whether successfully in an employment goal or not successfully, if you decide you don't want to work right now, it does not impede you from applying again in the future. There's no, if we don't get it right this time, then, we can't come back. You can always come back. And we would have another intake meeting, which is just filling out the paperwork. And then that eligibility determination is usually a little bit quicker. And then we would start the planning process all over again from the beginning with where you're at right now, what your interests are now, any type of employment that you're interested in, or again, if you're looking to advance your career in the future. So our goal is obtain employment, maintain employment, or advance in employment. So you don't have to not have a job to come and apply with us. You can be working and still be eligible for our services. We're just here to support in whatever your employment goals are.
And one other thing I wanted to bring attention to is when you are in high school in the IEPs, parents can invite you to attend these IEPs as they're progressing through these high school years, correct?
Yes, absolutely. And we're always happy to attend and provide input. We have some services that are available only to high school students. We call them pre-employment transition services. So those are a little bit of a starter to get you thinking about work a little bit, to think about what kinds of jobs you might like to do, what types of behaviors are most appropriate when you start out in your employment, kind of just starting to think about it. And so if at any point you think those services are of interest to you, we can start taking referrals for individuals at age 14, and we will work with you all the way up until you like to retire.
Awesome. Thank you, Erin. Did anyone have any questions for Erin? I don't see anything in the chat. I did want to mention, if you logged on a little bit late, we talked in the very beginning about transition services and it being a team process. And hopefully people are gathering their resources to help students and families reach their goal. So boards of DD and OOD can work together to ensure that people are working towards those efforts. So don't think just because you have one agency involved, you have to eliminate another. So the next person, thank you, Erin. So the next person we are going to have speak is Amanda Penix, who is the Warren County ESC Transition Supervisor.
Hello, thanks for having me. I am going to share my screen. We are going to be talking about the Warren County Transition Network website. Can you guys see it, everybody? Perfect, good. All right, so this was created, gosh, I think I have to look this up. Let me see how long ago it's been, because I think it was in 2017. So quite a few years ago, there was a group of 4 of us. Brittany and I are the only 2 still remaining of that group, but we were a part of this multi-agency planning process through Employment First with Sue Beck and Chris Fuller. And it was all about bringing different agencies together, within your county, and kind of working together to provide a service or an opportunity, something that you felt was lacking within your community. And what we felt would be a big help for Warren County in particular was putting kind of this website together, kind of a one-stop shop of where you could find any information that you wanted about transition. And so the Transition Network was born from that. And so we worked diligently for, gosh, a year or 2, getting this all put together, and hopefully in an easy to follow format for you all. So, this is absolutely resources for educators, for families, and we also did one for potential employers in the community as well. So, up here at the top, you can look at students and families, educators and agencies, or local businesses. We do have a contact us button. Those emails come directly to me and I will answer you. And then we've also done a step to take by each grade or each age level. So we did 14 and 15-year-olds. We have a suggested parent checklist. Talking about getting an OOD case open if you're not, haven't gotten DD services yet, going through that eligibility process, starting to talk to your kid about work, what are they interested in doing? Do they know what you do? Could they, helping them understand what different jobs require in terms of education or experience? And lots of different resources on here as well. And then we have an educator checklist, which is slightly different because, as you may or may not know, when the child turns 14, we begin to add that section 5, the transition section on the IEP. And that whole section is what drives the IEP, because everything that we are working towards is getting, that student towards whatever it is they're going to be doing after high school, whether it's employment, more education, career tech, whatever it might be. We're moving them towards that independence. So we're providing, teachers with transition assessments, live binders, just resources to help them, making sure that they understand, how to explain about OOD and DD, how to make a referral to both of them, that type of stuff. So we have this for each grade or each age level, 14 to 15, 16 to 17. There is some repetition because obviously, if you haven't done, let's say, oh my goodness, you're just now new to transition and you're thinking my kid's a junior and now you're thinking, oh, I have to figure something out. If you haven't done, those steps at 14, 15, that's okay. You can do them here, at 16, 17. So, it's getting in here and, figuring out who, if they need a state ID, who you need to call to, get in touch, to get services for your kiddo. And then the 18 to 22 is a little bit different too, because the kids typically have completed their high school graduation requirements. And so then we're talking about, transition programming, in particular for Warren County, it's TLC or Project Search, or are they going in directly into services? So, looking at those, it kind of helps you, make some contacts if you want to do Social Security, doing the medical history stuff, talking about guardianship and or power of attorney, but just kind of helping families navigate all of that. And if that section is not helpful for you, you can come down here and look specifically for resources. So if you're looking for community resources, so talking about like personal safety, public safety, legal and financial questions, just to kind of help you get an idea of maybe things that you should be thinking about. And then below here are these websites that could help you with finding the answers to those questions. Let's see. So education, again, this is, websites that you can visit to help, with that. If you've got a kiddo that's headed to college, helping to understand what types of accommodations are typical for college students to receive and how they go about getting those accommodations. This is employment resources. So there's a bunch of different podcasts that you can listen to and get some information on different employment resources. And then the last one is living. So if, your child is, thinking of moving out, but you don't think they could live completely independently, talking about that assisted living, that supported living, what that might look like. I think we're going to talk about that a little bit later tonight as well. So just kind of helping you find information for really anything about transition. You can also go here to the resources for educators and agencies. And it's going to give you that same, we've got some videos that you could use with your child, and some other resources to help. This one's in particulars for educators and agencies. Let's see, the one for families, students and families. We'll also have the videos, but also talk about, relationships, and then also provide you with different websites you can go to as well. And then the last thing here on the bottom, it's just kind of, we've highlighted some specific agencies that we thought might be useful or helpful. And if you click on them, it takes you right to their website. So, if you're looking for something in particular, those buttons down there will take you, to that website of something to help you with any of that. Any questions?
So Amanda, I have one.
Yes.
Well, it's a two-parter though. While we're here, so one of the things that was highlighted on the flyer as one of our objectives to meet tonight was, should my student attend the IEP meetings? Would you give some feedback on that?
Yes, absolutely. Highly recommend it. Their input is invaluable. they want to be heard, and there may be a chance that they might not agree with mom and dad. And that just brings up an opportunity for discussion and a lot of opportunity to talk about, where you are and where you want to go and what that's going to look like to help reach those goals. But yes, I feel like they definitely should be a part of it. I think sometimes families are surprised at what their kids are thinking of. I've had several parents say, I never thought they would want to live, elsewhere. Somewhere else besides with us. And just, kind of having those conversations and saying, it doesn't have to happen as soon as a kiddo turns 18. That can be an ongoing conversation, but definitely I think they should be a part of it because it's their future. Absolutely.
Awesome. And I think you touched on the other question, which is, why is the student involvement in transition planning so important? And like you said, the goal is really to have them do what they want to do for the rest of their lives.
Right.
So,
right.
Thank you for answering that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we find, so I also, as part of what I do at the ESC is I supervise TLC, the transition living classrooms. And we have found sometimes kids are like, oh, I want to work at a restaurant. And we place them in a job rotation at a restaurant and they absolutely hate it. So it's making sure that individuals have the opportunities to try lots of different things to see if something they thought maybe they were really going to love, they find out they hate. We get a lot of students that want to work with animals in particular. And ultimately, for a lot of them, it turns out they really just want to play with the puppies and the kittens. They don't necessarily want to take care of a dog or a cat and all that entails. So, then we always have those conversations about hobbies versus a job. So maybe volunteering at the Humane Society might be a good, a better fit. So yeah, definitely having the individual involved is hugely important for sure.
I did want to comment. I saw under that section that you had for students and family section, an acronym list. I strongly suggest if you can get a hold of acronyms, whether you want to write it down or print out a list, it's very helpful during IEPs. I can't tell you how many times I got stuck on acronyms. They would say an acronym, whether it be OOD or DD, and I'm like, I'm trying to think, okay, they said OOD. I'm trying to think what that means, and I get stuck that I miss the next 5 minutes of conversation. So I would strongly suggest for any families, especially new to all this, check out the acronyms. If you can print the list or just pull out a few that you know that you may need to remember, but it's very helpful.
Totally agree, Patty. And as someone in education, I am guilty of that. We talk in acronyms almost explicitly. And I can't imagine as a parent how overwhelming that must be because we start talking about an ETR and an IEP and the SLP and the OT and the PT. I mean, and we're throwing around all these acronyms that we all know what they stand for, but absolutely, you're going to get stuck going, what did that mean? AA, what did that mean? And then by then, yeah, we've gone on and talked about 3 other things and yeah, you've missed it. Absolutely. Great. Yes. Thank you for that one.
And Amanda can attest. Speak up in those meetings. When
Absolutely.
you're having any team meetings and we're throwing out acronyms that you don't understand, don't hesitate to stop us and ask us what those mean.
Absolutely. One of the saddest things, this happened years ago. I was talking with a parent and her child was a 7th grader and he had just gotten eligible to be on an IEP and his was for like executive functioning. And she was like, well, I'm going to my son's IEP meeting. I guess they're going to tell me what they're going to do. And I was like, well, whoa, wait a minute. What do you mean they're going to tell you what they're going to do? I'm like, what do you want them to do? And she was like, well, I don't know. And I said, well, you are a part of the team. Your voice is a very strong voice, very important voice that we need on the team. Nobody knows your kid better than you. And she was like, well, ultimately, I really just want somebody to check in with him at the end of the day to make sure he has all of his homework. And I said, so you need to say that. She was like, I'm allowed to say that. I'm like, you are absolutely allowed to say that. So absolutely, we want parental input. we're here for a short period of time, 6 hours out of the day, 7 hours of the day, for a couple of years, through their education or whatever. But these are your kids. And like I said, you know them better than anybody. And we absolutely value, respect, and need your input. So, yes.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Amanda.
Absolutely.
I don't see any other questions at the moment, but I'm sure they will come up as we proceed through the presentation. Next up, we have Latosha Olinger, who is the Warren County Board of DD Work Incentives Coordinator, and she's going to explain a little bit about Social Security, accessing benefits, and a few other things that might be helpful to students and families as they progress through the transition process.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us this evening. As Brittany said, I will provide a short explanation about Social Security benefits that an individual may be entitled to based on disability and how to apply for those benefits. At this time, we will view a short video that Social Security has published that will provide an overview of Social Security disability insurance, SSDI, and supplemental security income, SSI, and how to apply. Patty, if you can pull that video up now, that'd be greatly appreciated.
It is pulling it up, supposedly. 1 second. Let me get it up here.
You may have heard about supplemental.
Let me get the link and put it in another. Oh, 1 second.
You may have.
Okay. Now let me try sharing again. It didn't like where I had it, and for some reason, I don't know why.
I have troubles every time. That's why I asked you to do it.
Okay, let's see if it will do it this time. It just didn't like my location. Okay, yeah, let me try that one. Do you guys see it okay now?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Have heard about supplemental security income, or SSI. But what exactly is it and how does it work? This video will highlight some basics and provide you with additional resources to learn more. SSI provides monthly payments to individuals with limited income and resources who are disabled, blind, or 65 or older. Children who are blind or have a disability may also get SSI if they are in a household with limited income and resources. These payments help recipients meet basic needs. Many individuals who are eligible for SSI payments may also be entitled to Social Security benefits. However, these are different in several ways. Unlike Social Security benefits, SSI payments are not based on your prior work history or a family member's prior work. Although Social Security manages the SSI program, it is funded by general tax revenues, not Social Security taxes. In most states, SSI recipients also can get medical assistance, such as Medicaid, to pay for hospital stays, doctor bills, prescription drugs, and other healthcare costs. SSI recipients may also be eligible for food assistance through programs like the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP. SSI payments are usually paid on the first of the month, while the date of the Social Security benefit payments is based on the beneficiary's birthday. Let's break down who is eligible to receive SSI payments. The program is intended to provide monthly payments to people who are disabled, blind, or at least age 65, have limited income like wages or pensions, have limited resources, which are the things you own, are U.S. citizens, nationals of the U.S., or a U.S. legal resident, and reside in one of the 50 states, the District of Columbia, or the Northern Mariana Islands. There is one exception. Children of a military parent or parents assigned to permanent duty outside the U.S. And certain students temporarily abroad may receive SSI payments outside the U.S. If you or someone you are helping plan to apply for SSI, you can begin by using our online tool to tell us that you are interested in applying. You can find it at ssa.gov/SSI. Because SSI is a needs-based program, you are also required to file for any other benefits you may be eligible for. When we review your request to apply, we will schedule an appointment to help you apply for SSI and other Social Security benefits, if applicable. This online process to let us know you want to apply only takes about 5 to 10 minutes, and no documentation is required. We will need information about you, and if applicable, the person you are helping. We will send an appointment date and time by mail and email, if provided, to the person interested in applying. In some cases, our representative may call to schedule the appointment. You also have the option to complete and submit your application online if you meet all of the following criteria: are applying for Social Security disability insurance benefits at the same time as your SSI claim, are between the ages of 18 and 65, have never been married, are a U.S. citizen residing in one of the 50 states, the District of Columbia, or the Northern Mariana Islands, haven't applied for or received SSI payments in the past. Or you can call us at 1-800-772-1213 to schedule an appointment with your local Social Security office. You can learn more about the SSI program and begin the application process by visiting our website at ssa.gov/SSI. Navigating this information can be tough at times, but we are here to help you understand the necessary steps to get benefits for you and your loved ones. Our website provides many more details and information. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Thanks, Patty, for showing that clip for me. I think if I would have done it, we might not have got through it. So I'm going to provide some additional information on top of that video that we just viewed. If I can get my screen back up where it should be. All right, here we go. Sorry, I had multiple screens up. So as indicated in the video, Social Security pays disability benefits under 2 programs, and I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into those different programs. And if you guys have any questions, please let me know. Feel free to drop it in the chat. Social Security pays Social Security benefits under what the program called Social Security Disability Insurance, SSDI, and also Supplemental Security Income, as indicated in the video. SSDI is for people who are disabled, have paid Social Security taxes, and have enough work credits to qualify for disability benefits. The number of work credits an individual need to qualify for SSDI benefits depends on the age when they became disabled. Some family members may also be eligible for these benefits as well. For example, the SSDI program will pay benefits from a parent's work record to an unmarried child age 18 or older if they have a disability that started before age 22.
Latosha, just question, are you sharing your screen, or are you do you have anything you're sharing, or just to make sure?
No,
okay.
Cliff notes, yeah.
I just want to make sure. Okay.
I will have some stuff to share later, though.
Okay. All right. Very good.
To receive childhood disability benefits, the person must meet Social Security definition of disabled, and their parents must be receiving Social Security retirement or disability benefits, or the parent has died and have enough work credits to be eligible and had enough work credits to be eligible for Social Security benefits. If someone becomes entitled to SSDI, they will receive Medicare coverage 24 months after they have become entitled to SSDI. For the SSI program, that's a federal program that provides monthly payments to adults and children with a disability or blindness with limited income and resources. For resources, they cannot have no more than $2,000 for an individual, $3,000 for a couple if living together. Some key things that I think people should be aware of: for children applying for SSI, Social Security would take parents' income and resources into consideration when determining eligibility for SSI. The month after an individual turns 18, parents' income and resources are no longer considered during the eligibility process for SSI. Individuals found eligible for SSI will qualify for Medicaid coverage. I'm going to show you some great resources that I found that is pretty much goes through the process that Social Security have published to help individuals and families prepare for the application process. And I will share my screen now. One second, I don't see the document. Sorry, guys. All right, so this is called Adult Disability Starter Kit. There's also one for children as well, but it pretty much goes through the application process, things that you would need to do to be prepared for the application process and for the interview that will take place with the Social Security representative. We do have this information that's going to be available through the SALT drive that was sent to Patty, so you can view this information at your convenience. There's one for children and adults as well. And gotta find my notes. Yes, here we go. If you are receiving services through Warren County Board of DD and would like assistance with the application process, you are welcome to contact me for assistance or contact your transition coordinator to be referred for assistance. I will leave my contact information in the chat. At this point in time, I will pass it on to the next speaker if there's no questions.
I don't see anything. Oh, wait, question for Latosha. My son is on the spectrum and turns 18 in December. We have not applied for anything, but they're wondering if they should wait until January or February to apply.
Yes, I will wait until January, the month after. If you apply in the month that he turns 18, they will still take your income and resources into consideration for that month.
There is one more. It says, 1 year after submitting the application, my adult autistic son was denied SSI because they said his disability doesn't qualify based on their rules. He cannot work more than 7 hours a day. He got sick and quit. What should she do?
I would recommend, you said it's been, you said a year ago. So at this point, you would want to reapply. If you were still within the appeal process, I would recommend appealing that decision. But at this point, you probably just need to find additional evidence to show how his disability is impacting his ability to work. And I don't know if your son is receiving OOD services. Usually there's documentation that can be submitted from OOD to Social Security regarding any vocational services that an individual is receiving, that I usually find very helpful. And then also from our board as well, if we're working with them through transition, we can also submit some documentation. And usually the Social Security will provide a record request directly to our agency or to any other agency that you list for records, and we will submit that information directly to Social Security. So you don't have to actually like gather this information yourself. If you have something that you want to make sure is submitted with the file, you're more than welcome to submit the information, but Social Security will request it directly from any medical profession or any agency that the individual is receiving services from.
And I did want to mention too that if you're not with Warren County, Latosha's with Warren County, and she answers a lot of questions. But if you're not with Warren County, there are there's other ones like Latosha, your job description that help. I know Butler County has people that help with Social Security, and some of the other counties, Montgomery and Greene. So if you don't know who that person is, Latosha probably knows who that person is, with some of the different counties. So I would, you could reach out to her too.
Yes. Yeah, feel free
Yes,
to,
Tammy
if you don't,
Disney.
yeah. If you're not for sure who to contact within your county, feel free to reach out to me and I can connect you with that person.
It's always helpful to have that person to work with when you're talking about Social Security. So.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much, Latosha. And they both said thank you for your answers.
You're welcome.
Next we have Lori Carr, the Residential Options Coordinator, and Kellie Hampton, the Remote Supports and Assistive Technology Coordinator from Warren County Board of ED. And as you heard Amanda mention earlier, some students and families' goals are to live on their own after graduation. So we invited them to come and speak a little bit about preparing for that and hopefully provide some insight on possible accommodations if your student needs that when they decide to move out. So Kellie and Lori, I will pass it on to you.
Great, thank you, Brittany. And just to, add on to what Latosha said, working with her, she has helped so many families in our county navigate the Social Security and the Medicaid system. So, just reach out and figure out who that person is in your county. Very, very helpful. Yes, my name's Lori Carr. I'm the Residential Options Coordinator with Warren County DD. And prior to taking this role a couple of years ago, I was a service coordinator for, 17 years in Warren County and in Butler County. And I also worked in adult services. And I will let Kellie introduce herself.
Yeah, hi, I'm Kellie Hampton. I'm the Remote Supports and Assistive Technology Coordinator. My role here in Warren County has been around for about a year now. So I help teams and individuals explore different assistive technology options, whether it be devices or remote support services. And then I also help people just obtain things through those kind of assessments. So we work together to find what support options are best for people when they're looking at independent living. And so, yeah, we'll kind of go into what that looks like. Can you guys see my screen that I'm sharing? I just want to make sure before. I can't see anybody.
Yes. Yeah, we can see it.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Awesome. So here are things that we talk with teams about when they're starting to think about whether, you're ready to move out, and what are things that we can do to help prepare. So each of these kind of bullet points are going to be slides that we're going to go through later on in the presentation. So to start with, we really look at those strengths, skills, and needs. This is just a link to a basic life skills checklist that I've used before with teams, looking at different independent living skills. This might be something, if you're still in school services, that your intervention specialist has done with you, or transition coordinator, and it might be things that are identified in that section 5 of the IEP. So they're just things that we're starting to look at. What are the things that somebody does really well and is independent with? What are some things that might need some support, either in learning new skills or identifying assistive technology that can support, or where in-person support might be needed? So the link is right here to look at that. And you can see this one's actually geared towards parents, but it just kind of goes through basic different skills and then where they're at in terms of the support that they might need. So to pull back into the presentation, there we go. So the first area we're going to talk about is just supports that people need. So once we identify things that might be areas of need for somebody, we want to look at what are the least restrictive options in terms of supporting an individual as they look at independent living. So one of the first things that we look at, are there assistive technology services that can be put in place for somebody? So this is a quote I always like to focus on. For most of us, technology makes things easier, but for a person with a disability, technology makes things possible, which is really true. There are a lot of things, especially like mass market items that were initially invented for people with disabilities and have made things possible for a lot of people. So when we look at assistive technology, they're really two different things. The term assistive technology is a thing. So we think of computers, we think of Alexa devices, we think of video doorbells. The device that you would hold in your hand is the assistive technology. When we're looking at services, there's also something called remote supports, and that's a service that an agency would provide. So it might be somebody that calls to remind somebody to take medication, or calls to check in to make sure they pack their lunch the night before work, or calls to make sure that they wake up in the morning, or things like that. So when we're talking about those different things, you can have assistive technology in place without remote supports, but remote supports uses assistive technology to provide that support and that level of supervision. So that's kind of the difference between the two when we're talking about services. And these, I just listed out some common devices that people use for independent living. Keyless door locks is a really common one for individuals who either maybe physically can't manipulate a key, or maybe people who misplace their keys and can't quite keep it with them. Having something in place so they can independently access their home is really important. Video doorbell for identifying who's at the door before, opening the door and letting somebody in your home. Alexa Echoes or Google Nest devices, those smart speakers, they're great for having reminders for things, also having voice activation. So things that, you can hook up. I just installed one that was opening curtains. So somebody who maybe can't open their curtains on their own, you could say, Alexa, open my curtains, and it does it automatically. So there are a lot of different technologies that can be connected through voice command. Another common one is medication dispensers. So there's different ones that either can just organize your medication, or there are more electronic ones that can send text message alerts to people. They can have records kept on when people took their medication or missed their medication for either caregivers to have that extra layer of accountability, or letting doctors know what compliance looks like for medication. Adaptive kitchen tools, and then even some low tech options like visual support. So maybe a checklist of the things you need to do in the morning, or the tasks that you need to do to clean your kitchen once a week, those types of things. So there are lots of different options that can help people meet those areas of need that don't necessarily need a person, or somebody to be there to help them with those things. And this is just kind of a plug. So we recently created, through a grant with the ODD, our Smart Studio. So in our office here at the Young Center in Lebanon, Ohio, we have a model apartment that is decked out in a ton of assistive technology and adaptive devices. So we are able to take tours, and it doesn't necessarily have to be just people in Warren County. If you're in a different county, you're welcome to contact me and schedule a tour, or I can connect you with other smart apartments and smart homes throughout the state. It really is helpful to get things in your hands to see what will work for you. And then alternatively, we talk about in-person supports, and that can either be natural supports, so family members, friends, neighbors, community groups, anybody who is in the person's life. So assessing kind of what are the supports that I have right now that are unpaid. And then alternatively, there are paid supports that might be paid through, local funds or a waiver, and identifying what those needs are, what supports you already have in place. And then if you're moving out, maybe what are other supports that you might need, whether it be homemaker personal care services, adult a day array, so a day program, or employment services, job coach, transportation services to get to those programs or to get to work. And then there are services that can be funded with remote supports and assistive technology that can be explored. So kind of looking at what you already have, and then what are some services that might be beneficial as you move towards independent living.
Very good. Thanks, Kellie.
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about what else is important when thinking about planning for independent living in the future? And budgeting is certainly one of those aspects that we talk about a lot. It's important to create a budget for your individual to determine what type of expenses you will have and to be able to save for those type of things. Well-planned budget provides peace of mind by preparing you for unexpected costs and promoting responsible financial habits. This budgeting tool here is good to use because you can identify your income now, whether that is through Social Security, earned employment income, whatever that might be. You can identify that. You can go over that with your child to look at where all the types of bills you will have when you move out, such as groceries and paying for transportation, possibly paying a cell phone bill, all those things. So, having that listed out, creating a budget and understanding what you can afford for monthly expenses is very important. Setting spending limits and then monitoring that and adjusting that. So these are good habits to start, even if you're not quite ready to move out, but it's a future goal. Expenses. What kind of expenses will your loved one have when they move out? They will have the same expenses that you and I have. They will have housing costs, such as rent, which may include renter's insurance, paying utilities such as electricity, gas, water, and sewer, trash collection, internet, cable or streaming services, paying for groceries, transportation, whether that's purchased or public transportation, maybe costs associated with healthcare, personal care items, entertainment, leisure, so spending money to have for those things, clothing, maybe there's a stable account in place, a savings account, and then miscellaneous items. And there's always emergencies and unexpected expenses that come up. A little bit later, we'll be talking about funding sources, and we'll be talking a little bit about Medicaid waivers. You may have heard that term before. That's a way of paying for certain services that we've talked about. Medicaid waivers do not pay for housing or any personal expenses. Waivers support services such as the technology, the homemaker personal care. We call that providers or staff, equipment needed in a home, things like that. But it does not pay for any type of living expenses. Moving along, income and funding. So your individual will need to be able to pay the bills, such as those things we've mentioned: rent, utilities, groceries, furniture, other household expenses. And income could be employment, could be Social Security, SSI, SSDI, and Medicaid is also available if you qualify. And to be eligible, you must be a U.S. citizen or meet the Medicaid citizen requirements, have a Social Security number, be an Ohio resident, and meet the financial requirements. So we have a local office here in Lebanon, and it's over on East Street, Job and Family Services. And again, Latosha, she's the go-to person for these type of things. She's very helpful and can assist you with looking at income and eligibility, and just making a referral to her can be very helpful to sit down and understand those things. Okay, so Medicaid waivers. We already said it, we'll say it again. Medicaid waivers do not cover housing costs. Instead, they fund supports and services such as the tech, the personal care, the non-medical transportation, the adult day program services. Not everyone needs or will qualify for a waiver. Waivers are based on assessed needs, and individuals must demonstrate unmet needs to be placed on the wait list and potentially enroll in a waiver. If other resources can address an individual's needs, a waiver may not be necessary. There is a waiting list assessment, and if a person has an immediate or an anticipated need for a service within the next 12 months, they can contact the local county board to request the waiting list assessment. And an immediate need refers to a situation that poses a substantial risk of harm to the individual, their caregiver, or others if not addressed within 30 calendar days. Funding continued. Warren County funding sources, we do have local funds available for those individuals that are not on a waiver. So there is a pot of money you can access for whatever it needs. You may need, maybe there's a piece of technology, maybe there's some respite staffing that's needed. It is minimal, but it is available. And so you can reach out to your transition coordinator or service coordinator to talk about that. Family supports funding is available in our county as well. And we do offer a rental subsidy for those that qualify and may need assistance with the rent piece of their living expenses. We also have a vehicle grant program that is great. And again, if you have questions about these things, if you live in Warren County, you can go through your transition coordinator, your service coordinator, or certainly myself or Kelly, and we can help you get answers to those questions. Okay. Still me, Kelly?
Is everybody still there? I just want to make sure we
can't
any
see.
questions. Yeah, we can't see anybody.
Yes, we're still
Okay.
here. And I'm watching the question box,
Okay,
so
thank you.
there's no questions yet.
Perfect. Okay.
All right.
Awesome.
So I want to talk a little bit about what type of financial assistance is available for rent. Rent, is very expensive, as we know, especially in our county. I do assist people with, looking for independent living type situations, and rent is very expensive. Finding a landlord is also very difficult. So a Section 8 rental subsidy is available for anyone who is low income, has a disability, and you can apply to be on a wait list for what's called a home and community voucher. And the wait list is actually opening up finally. It has not been open for 2.5 years. That office communicated recently they are opening their wait list in September. And so the flyer that is attached to this slide explains how to do that. You can apply online through Warren Metropolitan Housing Authority. And what you need is your name, social security number, and birth date for your individual. You don't need it for all the family members if your person is going to be living alone, yearly income, and then an email address. This puts you on the wait list for a housing voucher. What does that mean? Well, the housing voucher assists with rent, and they look at your income, and it is federal dollars. And so they will determine what you might be able to get based on your limited income. And it's usually between 30 and 40% that you would pay for rent based on your monthly adjusted income. And once you apply and are accepted on the wait list, it may be a while. You may get offered a housing voucher soon. You may have to wait for quite a while. They will send you a letter to notify you that you've been selected for a housing voucher. At that time, you have 60 days to find a landlord who is willing to take the housing voucher and whose rent falls within the cap. And so that's important to note if you're looking to move out, to be independent. And all of that information is listed on their website when you go on there. For example, a 1-bedroom apartment is $922. That is the cap for a 1-bedroom. So, again, staying in that range is going to be important. If you cannot find a landlord in 60 days, you can ask for an extension. That extension is another 60 days. At the end of that 60 days, if you've not found a landlord, then that voucher is taken back. You can remain on the wait list. So that's how that process works. And again, they work with us closely, which is good. The office is located here in Lebanon on Monroe Road. And so check out their website for more information. Okay, What type of assistance programs are out there? When you are living, you found your apartment, you're living independently, is there any type of assistance you can get? There is the HEAP program, which is a yearly payment applied directly to your heating or cooling utility bill. And there's also the PIP program, a percentage of income payment plan to help Ohioans manage their energy bills year round. Payments are based on a percentage of household income and are consistent year round. There's the HEAP Summer Crisis Program for cooling assistance during the summer, and then the HEAP Winter Crisis Program. So if you're threatened with disconnection, need to establish new service, again, these are things that you might want to look into. And as long as you pay your bill on time, which you must do in order to continue that service, if you miss your bill one time, you have to pay it all in full, and you won't be able to get it again. So it's important to pay those bills on time. And then the Electric Partnership Program, EPP, helps eligible Ohioans reduce their electricity usage in their home. And the website is listed there to check out for energy assistance programs. Financial assistance continued. What is Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program? That is SNAP. Used to be called food stamps. So that is available for people with low incomes through Job and Family Services. If you qualify for the food program, you'll get an Ohio Direction card. It's like a special debit card for buying your groceries, and you can use that card at approved stores to get what you need. You can apply for this food assistance online. You can fill out a form, JFS form. We call it the 7200 form, but it's listed on their website there, and you can submit that when you apply for Medicaid as well.
The next one listed here is the Lifeline Internet Assistance. So it is a federal program where you can get a discount of up to $9.25 off of your monthly internet bill. Previously, there was a program called the Affordability Connectivity Program. That unfortunately, that was a state program, I believe. But regardless, the funding ended for that program. So if you had heard of it, that is no longer an option, but this still is in place. So it's something that you can apply for. If you qualify for Medicaid, then that is one of the qualifications to get this program, or if you're on any other financial assistance programs, you likely would also qualify for this. Kind of a subsect of this program is Assurance Wireless. So that's a federal program as well through Lifeline, where you can get a free cell phone and wireless plan. So if you qualify for Lifeline, you can also apply for Assurance Wireless and get a free smartphone with the plan all included. These are programs you have to apply for or reapply for annually. So it's important once you apply to kind of mark on your calendar to make sure that you continue to qualify for these programs, but they can be helpful in kind of assessing your budget.
Thank you. All right. So likely scenarios in independent living is being able to afford rent and share expenses. So one of the things individuals may need to do is have a roommate in order to do that. If individuals live together, then they would share the costs of the rent, utility bills, things like that. They can have their own groceries, or they could share meals. It just depends. But these are some questions for potential roommates. When we're looking at individuals who are maybe ready, they are looking at moving out, or they have funding, they're able to afford their bills, they're able to have support in place that they need through either natural supports or paid support, and maybe they're ready to find a roommate. These are some questions that you can ask potential roommates. Do you like to stay home more often or go out? Where do you like to go in the community? Do you have a pet? Do you like to eat meals alone or with roommates? Do you have any food allergies? Do you keep a clean, neat house, or is this something you need reminders to do and assistance with? What furniture do I need to move in? And if individuals need a Medicaid waiver provider, have they agreed upon the provider to share services? So just some questions that we facilitate in the process. Housing options. So, what housing options are available? There are several things to consider. One is for individuals to continue living with their families with support in place if it's needed. And, depending on what the situation is, it could be just limited support needed, maybe some technology, or maybe, more support is needed in the home in order to continue living there. There are nonprofit housing corporations that can provide housing to individuals, and this varies by county. In Warren County, we have Community Housing Assistance Program. It's called CHAP. They have 90 homes, a lot of tenants, and we have a process in place. These homes are for Warren County residents, and individuals that live in these homes share services through a provider agency. A lot of these homes, the individuals need care around the clock, so 24/7 services. But in some situations, they may just get drop-in services. And in those cases, the individuals may have different providers. But in the homes where there are 24/7 care, they do share services. And so, individuals that meet the criteria or are referred to look at these programs have the funding in place to support their needs 24/7. They have the ability to pay their rent and utility bills and all the things that we talked about. And there's also private landlords. So if a CHAP home doesn't meet someone's needs, an individual doesn't want to stay in the family home, maybe they're looking at a private landlord. So that would be looking at someone in the community who could rent to you, who may be able to accept a rental subsidy from either our agency or from Warren Metro Housing if you have a housing voucher. And that's a lot of times doing a lot of internet searching, driving around, making phone calls to try to find landlords. We do work with some landlords currently. Sometimes that changes of who will work with us and who will accept our subsidy. But that's something that, I assist people with as well. Home ownership. Home ownership is great. It does come with challenges, and in having funds to do home repairs, etc., and can be very expensive. And this is talking about individuals owning their own home. And then possibly if a family owns a home and wants an individual to live in that home, that is an option. They would not be able to receive a rental subsidy from either us or from Warren Metro Housing if that is the case per policy. However, we do have situations where that might be best for someone. So those are the types of housing options. We didn't list it on here, but there are intermediate care facilities. Oh, it's the next slide. Kellie just told me. Moving along. Okay. Yes. Okay. So developmental centers and then intermediate care facilities. So developmental centers are in the state, and they are, the closest one is Southwest Ohio Developmental Center, SODC. And they serve individuals with more challenges. And it is a process to get somebody into a developmental center. It has to go through a lot of layers, and it's very expensive. It's paid for locally through county funds, and other options have to be ruled out. So this is something that, isn't done very often. It's for individuals who have a lot of challenges and maybe need stabilization. It is a temporary housing situation and treatment facility for 180 days, with the idea for somebody to come out of a facility into the community or into an ICF. What is an ICF? It is a Medicaid funded facility that's inclusive. So the rate includes the day program and the residential services. So if you go to live in an ICF, you do not get to pick a provider. You do not get to pick a day program. In essence, you are not taking the waiver. You are accepting ICF inclusive services. So you do not have free choice of provider as you do with the waiver. A lot of people prefer ICFs. They've been around a long time. We have 3 ICFs in Warren County. We have CCI in Mason, Brookside in Mason, and Fairview Home in Carlisle. So not many. There's ICFs throughout the other counties, and you can do a statewide search on the DODD website to see where there are open beds. Nursing facilities, occasionally we do have people that need to go into a nursing facility, and they have to meet the PASSAR, which is the level of care for a nursing home, which is completed by the Council on Aging. So there's a process to go into a nursing home. But those are all the different types of housing that we have available. I guess.
I forgot to put this.
Oh, that's okay. So that's all right. Did we make a mention of it?
We didn't earlier on, but we can just talk about it.
So we do an independent living workshop in Warren County. It's for Warren County residents. And we talk about a lot of the things involved with planning for future living. We talk about landlord roles, roommates, needs versus wants, technology. We go through scenarios, budgeting, all those fun things. So our next one is October 24th. From 5:30 to 7 here at the Young Center. If you have someone interested, you can contact me to register. My email is listed there. And again, it's for Warren County residents.
Any questions or anything? We'll stop sharing. How do I do that? Oh, there we go.
One. Stopped you.
There we go.
I didn't see any questions out there, but I wanted to make sure that parents or people that are listening to this later or attending now, that even though all these speakers, again, I think I mentioned this at the beginning, even though all these speakers are from Warren County, you can take a lot of this information back to your own county board. And if you're not exactly sure who that person is, any of these, I mean, the county boards talk to each other. So a lot of these people you can reach out to and they would know who that person is in your county. So that's all I wanted to say there. So, Brittany, I don't know if you have anything else.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing. And if there's anyone that represents a county board on the meeting this evening, feel free to drop your information in the chat box, or if you have a representative in your county that does a similar title or job that we mentioned this evening, feel free to add them to the chat as well.
Okay. Is there anything else, Brittany? Oops.
So I just wanted to wrap it up and allow people to ask more questions if they want it. Sorry, it's getting dark in my house and I forgot to turn the lights on, so now I have to use the flashlight. And I wanted to make sure that I, again, touched on the points that we had on the flyer as objectives. So one of the questions that was asked is, why is transition planning so important? And just like anything else in life, preparing for the what's next can be crucial when transitioning from one thing to another. So it gives students and their families an opportunity to see what resources are available and how to plan for what needs to be put in place to help. I think this evening we heard of a lot of resources. And so as far as the key agencies that can be considered as part of the transition team, we heard of OOD. We heard of the DD board, but there are others. Patty can give you more information on parent mentors if anyone is interested in accessing that. And there are a few other resources that are listed on the Transition Network website. So feel free to access that. One of the other questions listed was, my child is 14 and I have plenty of time for the transition timeline, right? And I always say it's never too early to start. And while transition services might change, while resources might change, at least you have a baseline of where to start. There's an opportunity for you to practice, there's opportunities for you to talk to people, and there's opportunities to get and change people on, oh no, I'm sorry, I didn't realize my camera wasn't on. There are opportunities to get and change people on your transition team because, like so many people have said tonight, what you start out wanting might look a lot different by the time you transition, either from high school or for college or whenever in your journey. So hopefully everything made sense tonight. Hopefully you feel comfortable with the information that was presented and with the presenters. If you have any additional questions, you can always reach out to them. Amanda shared an additional resource in the chat. I wanted to make sure that everyone saw it. There's a flyer for It Starts With Families. And I'm sorry, Amanda, I have to scroll back up. The date and time offhand.
It is, well, now you're putting me on the spot.
I'm
It
sorry.
is September 19th. We're doing our first ever Warren County Parent Support Group. So we're offering an in-person option from 9:30 to 10:30 at Silver Street, which is the Ohio Means Jobs building. And then either in person or via Zoom from 6:30 to 7:30 in the evening, also at the Ohio Means Jobs location.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
And does anybody else have any input for this evening or any additional questions?
Brittany, I'll go ahead and stop the recording. So if anybody has any and they didn't want to type it, I'll type that out. But I just wanted to make note too, that check out our SALT schedule, our upcoming sessions, because a lot of the things they talked about, we'll be taking a deeper dive into it later on the year or retouching back, like with OOD, the opportunities for high and disability. We'll be talking about employment navigation. We have a housing. So we will be getting back into some of these topics because it is like an ongoing concern, challenge. So we always want to make sure that we cover everything as much as possible. But I want to thank everybody for coming and the speakers. And let me close the recording and then you can reach out, then just unmute and ask your questions. So 1 second while I close that.